I ask everybody to come back in the room, please. Fifteen minutes? Yeah. Come on, everybody, please. So now we start with the next roundtable. I ask to Arnaud Depain to come here, that is the animator of the session, and Enrique Gomez, Maurizio Locatelli, Laurent Masson, Cristiano Pardo, and Bulen Usta. I hope to say in the right way your name. Yeah, it's not simple. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you so much. Good afternoon and welcome to our roundtable about certification, an additional complexity or necessity for smooth operation of your ticketing system. So I am your convener, Arnaud Depain, and before we introduce all the panelists, let me just introduce myself quickly. I am product and marketing manager at FIM, a leading company working in certification and testing for both industry, payment and ticketing. I am honored to facilitate this conversation, and to be honest, this is my first time I moderate, so please be forgiven. So, to introduce the theme, sustainable mobility is one of our biggest challenges in our societies. Ticketing systems are very complex and strategic for PTO, PTA, and they are key in the revenue collection and the user experience to access the system. Interoperability is now a necessary requirement. We are merging more and more transportation modes, and we want all to meet the mass as a service goals. To ensure durability of a ticketing system, nowadays it's necessary to be able to integrate and think how to integrate over the time to have a sustainable system. So how we can foster this integration, how we can procure more easily with interoperable system at the core, from the beginning, reliable, scalable. Today we will focus only on certification, one of a tool, an enabler. So instead of digging into all questions, but is it complex to certify products? What is the added value? So I will quickly introduce our panelists. So first, by alphabetical order, Enrique. Enrique is public technology specialist working at Semovi in Mexico City and leveraging technical aspect to empower the organization, so PTA and operators, to introduce new technologies. Maurizio has 27 years in the field of parking management as an Interparking group and has an extended experience in the R&D fields, project management, IT development, and data parking. Laurent Masson from Paycert has over 13 years of experience in global card manufacturing, leading some complex projects, and now she's leading initiative as Paycert for project certification scheme for payment on mobility. Christian Pardo from IHD Global is senior director on physical transport director, I missed my word, sorry, at HID Golad, and supporting a lot of initiatives to enable a worldwide transportation market with new technologies, and especially Cristiano represents HID Global at the CNA association, contributing a lot in working groups, and since December 21, was member of the advisory board. And finally, Bülent Usta from ASIS. Bülent is a solution architect managing ASIS manager ASIS Electronics. He has a strong experience in ticketing system, but also strong experience in certification, mainly working for EMV payment integration in the company solution. So, just to transition, we have a lot of insight to share and questions to address on share review. So let's start with what is certification. I will rely on Laurence. Can you explain us what could be certification, the foundation to set up certification program or requirement needed?
So what is certification of a product? Just a quick reminder. So it's a means of providing the insurance that your product complies to a standard or a normative specification. PCERT, as a certification body, is the third party. What does it mean? It means we are not a test laboratory. We are not receiving the samples and running the tests, but we receive some test reports after a vendor provide the samples to the laboratory. We review it and we decide the criticality of the discrepancy, if there is any. If non-blocking discrepancy are analyzed, are found, in this case, you receive your certification letter. So the role process of the certification is ruled by an ISO standard, which is the ISO 17065. It enables us to have a certain level of expertise, to ensure as well the impartiality in our decision, and to enable through different audits. So we have an audit every year by the COFRAC, the French accreditation organism in France, that audit our team and our process, and to ensure this robust certification process. I say robust as well because we have our company working on the certification program for carte bancaire since 17. Not yet. 15 years. We started with EMV card and terminals, and now so we have we ensure a good quality of our certification procedure. You request what are the requirements to make it works. I would say the first thing is to have define a clear context, a technology context, so with a clear specification. Then you have, of course, test plan and test tool qualified in accordance with this specification. But you also need to have some technical guideline to propose some adaptation and to have the feedback from the fields to be able to adjust the rules that are in the specification and to be sure that it's evolving right with the different market evolutions or adjustment that needs to be done. So in this case, you will have, for me, a secure, open, and flexible certification program if these conditions are fulfilled.
Okay, thank you, Laurence. Cristiano, now, from your perspective as car manufacturer representative, is it a complex work to get some products certified? Is it a big deal? And did you find some benefits from your previous experience?
Ok, grazie per la domanda. Se me l'avessi chiesta nel 2016 ti avrei detto molto complesso certificare un prodotto Calypso perché le regole che erano definite al tempo erano comprensibili a pochi, devo dire. In 7 anni sono cambiate tante cose. Innanzitutto è cambiata l'organizzazione di cui tutti quanti noi facciamo parte, che è l'associazione Calypso. I fornitori di tecnologie come HID hanno preso vantaggio dall'essere parte di questa famiglia, perché per me CNA è una grande famiglia, è un luogo dove possiamo confrontarci. L'associazione si è strutturata con degli esperti, è completamente indipendente da fornitori di tecnologie come invece era in passato. Questo dà la possibilità a fornitori come HID di poter rivolgere i propri dubbi a degli esperti, ricevere delle risposte e riuscire ad avere i prodotti certificati in tempi compatibili con il time to market, con la necessità di dover fornire dei prodotti al mercato e quindi a distanza di 7 anni ti dico il processo non è un processo complesso, abbiamo fatto tanta esperienza. La prima certificazione è stata sicuramente un elemento di grossa frustrazione perché non eravamo preparati, non avevamo un processo di certificazione integrato nello sviluppo. Oggi abbiamo imparato la lezione, sappiamo come preparare il prodotto affinché sia certificato. Laurence ha spiegato molto bene quello che è il ruolo di PayCert. Noi lavoriamo con i laboratori indicati da CNA, non voglio fare nomi perché non siamo qui per pubblicizzare un laboratorio piuttosto che un altro, però è importante per chi si sta avvicinando al tema delle certificazioni capire che è assolutamente un qualcosa che va fatto per garantire interoperabilità tra i prodotti forniti dai diversi produttori e per garantire che lo standard sia rispettato nelle implementazioni. Ultimo tema sui benefici. Io dal punto di vista di fornitore di carte vedo 3 benefici importanti, principali. Innanzitutto oggi esiste un mercato grazie anche alle certificazioni. Infatti se andiamo sul website di CNA vediamo che c'è una lista ricca di prodotti certificati, mi riferisco alle carte. Questo significa competizione, significa cost saving per gli operatori che devono acquistare i prodotti e significa avere un miglior prezzo dettato dal fatto che c'è una competizione tra i fornitori. E per un fornitore di carte come HID la certificazione è un'opportunità per poter penetrare maggiormente il mercato con un prodotto che ha un bollino da parte di un laboratorio indipendente che ne ha verificato la compatibilità con le specifiche.
Thank you, Cristiano. From an equipment perspective now, Bülent, we heard from your colleagues minutes ago. Can you share your point of view about the ease to manage this certification aspect?
Okay. Hello, everybody. First of all, I want to thank you for CNA for this great event invitation. As we are very new in Calypso family, initially we have started for RF certification in PayCert maybe 1 year ago. We just only have one device which we started for certification. It is model WAL 8. And it was this step actually, RF certification was quite simple and easy for us because the device was already certified for EMV Co level 1. So we passed this step very quickly. the benefit of RF certification, I think, means if you have a device and if you want to accept some fair medias like Calypso, this means you have a perfect designed RF field because these, cards are contactless and there are several rules, and this means device is perfectly designed for the acceptance, Calypso acceptance. The second step was, of course, the reader layer certification, and this step quite difficult, but with support of Kipple SDK, as the teams as mentioned before, open source technology helped us to pass this step, maybe not in more than 1 month, and we passed it very quickly with Kipple SDK. This process brings benefits to hardware and software providers for AFC, like bug-free applications. Developing helps bug-free applications and speed up the process, because normally when you start to implement some standards for your terminal, it's taking a long time. But you have open source SDK like Kipple, it's make it very easy. So it was very good for us. The third thing, I think, it's for the engineers or software developers. It's a good challenge. This certification, it's a good challenge. You learn many things. Because there are several test cases, so you have to pass all of them. If you don't know something, okay, you need to learn and you have to pass it. So it's a good challenge for us, for the providers, and that's all. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Violente. So now let's have another point of view from parties that procure this kind of certified product. From a technical perspective, why would authorities or PTO or operators have an interest in requiring certified product? So first, Enrique from Simovi, can you please provide your perspective as authority?
Yes, thank you. So as a local authority, the local authority in Mexico City, we find very important certification. But first of all, let me give you a context of Mexico City, which is a metropolis. Only the city of Mexico holds 9 million people, but all of the daily trips are made through the metropolitan area to the center of the city. So that's about 22 million people as a whole traveling every day. Now, as a big city, as a metropolitan city, there's a lot of moving parts. And if something goes wrong, then that's a big problem. And certification allows us to make sure that the system works. And it's not just that the elements might fail, but it's a commitment to this, from the city to the citizenship. Because as an authority, we need to make sure that there's quality of service, and quality of service for the citizens ensured by certification is of great importance for the authority. So yes, we don't see the details behind certification, at least not in Mexico City's authority, but we are a power user of certified products. So for example, we have yearly roughly 3.5 million cards per year bought and distributed in the network, so that's a lot. And the authority also needs to be able to manage tests in field, which again, certification simplifies that process. Because for example, we forget about, I don't know, mechanical tests. We leave that to certification. And then we focus on our software testings, interoperability testings, which is a very important, it's a very important topic, issue, because it simplifies the lives of the people in the authority, because we have a small team, especially in Mexico City. It's a small technical team that needs to handle a network, a vast network of 22 million people. So for us, certification is very important because it ensures us of a product that works, and it also ensures us that our technical processes, test processes, are pretty much simplified in what we need, and then leaves our mind to maybe more pressing topics, for example, urban planning, actual law implementing, which, okay, it's not the topic of ticketing, but for the authority, that is of utmost importance.
Thank you, Enrique. Now, another point of view, more private operator. Maurizio, can you share your point of view, please?
Yes, indeed. I maybe, need to give a little insight in, I can already hear you thinking like parking, transport, what is this all? Already, let's say 20 years ago, we were actually gravitating towards mobility as a vision to actually be closer to the mobility providers or the mobility organizers. And back in the day, we had to choose like how to break free from our own suppliers. I heard earlier on Carmelinda say like, break the chains and be in control of your network. And so the discussion was where to go. Develop ourselves, buy a system, and so we gravitated naturally towards Calypso, mainly also because of the vicinity of STIP in Brussels. We were pioneering Calypso back in the day, even before there was actually a national platform. And as a small parking operator, we are present in 9 countries, but compared to a transport authority, we are actually a very small team, and we are actually also of a different scale. We have been benefiting from picking a system that is not only standardized, but for which you can actually guarantee that the components that you pick and the cards that you buy and the interoperability that you might want to deploy in a later phase, you're not going to gamble and have to pray in order to make it work. And so we have been quite, I would say, opportunistic in this because of our small size. We started with only 5 people on the Calypso project. We are now like having an ecosystem of 30 people working on the Calypso hardware manufacturing, but also the software development. And of course, we cannot, at a certain moment, afford to do everything ourselves. And so we rely on components that are actually certified. We are sure that the cards are working. We cooperate with, on a national level with the BMC initiative to be sure that the cards are okay. And it makes our life very, very simple. And it means that when we actually assemble units and we build stuff and we roll it out, because I remind you, in parking land, all systems are closed loop. They are all closed and proprietary and so on. And so we believe in this open initiative, standard stuff that you can have trust in. And of course, if we then go to our different countries, which are actually operators, and we are actually pushing this equipment to them, we can just show them that the units are built according to specs, CE norm, whatever, and the components inside are actually also certified to a certain degree. And this brings actually not only efficiency, but also trust in the system. And so we didn't know from the start. I think we learned over the last 15 years how important interoperability, certification, and like was said here on the table, bringing a quality of service and making your customer or even the people using your system trust you. So, yeah, I think it's a necessary element. Thank you.
Thank you, Maurizio. Now, if we are moving on another kind of topics, cost. Does certification dramatically increase the cost of naive T.system? So, Cristiano, you are a provider of huge amount of piece of product from your company. Can you share some insight about this topic, cost?
Yes. La mia risposta a questa domanda forse va in controtendenza, perché l'aumento dei costi paradossalmente non viene ribaltato sui sistemi, sugli AFC, sugli Automated Fare Collection, ma viene ribaltato su quello che è l'anello debole della filiera, ovvero il fornitore di carte. Noi abbiamo una lunga esperienza perché, posso dirlo, siamo gli ultimi arrivati, siamo come dire, tra i fornitori di carte Calypso, quelli meno presenti sul mercato, e scontiamo probabilmente il fatto che, essendo gli ultimi, ci siamo persi un bel pezzo di storia Calypso, e quindi quando andiamo a fare fornitura di carte scopriamo le incompatibilità di prodotti certificati, cioè questo è il controsenso. C'è un prodotto certificato che è presente nel catalogo dei prodotti di CNA, non è compatibile con i sistemi in campo. Bene, qual è l'approccio dei PTO e dei PTA? Semplice, chiedere al fornitore di carte di patchare la carta, fare una patch per rendere questa carta compatibile con terminali di 20 anni fa. Capisco questa cosa, capisco l'approccio, però forse è anche arrivato il momento di capire che probabilmente terminali di 20 anni, di 15 anni hanno esaurito il loro ciclo di vita e dobbiamo aggiornarli a quelli che sono gli ultimi standard. Quindi questo è un punto molto molto importante dal mio punto di vista, perché arrivato a un certo punto non sarà più possibile ribaltare sui fornitori di carte gli extra costi, perché i fornitori di carte inizieranno a lamentarsi del fatto che sostengono costi di certificazione che non sono trascurabili, che sono integrati nel budget di sviluppo e che in qualche modo devono portare un valore. Il valore che vedo è quello della interoperabilità tra tutti gli elementi che compongono il sistema AFC. Ultimo punto importante che voglio lanciare qui, e non è una provocazione la mia, chi mi conosce sa che a me piace lanciare provocazioni. Questa non è una provocazione, è un'esigenza che noi come fornitori di carte sentiamo, considerare il processo di certificazione non come un qualcosa di statico, ma come un qualcosa dinamico, che accoglie anche quelli che sono i cambiamenti delle tecnologie a supporto. Ad esempio, le piattaforme hardware e i microprocessori a disposizione oggi non sono quelli che c'erano 10 anni fa. Parliamo di processori molto più evoluti, con memoria flash, possono essere aggiornati on the fly, mettono a disposizione una serie di componenti di base, tipo librerie native che gestiscono la parte di protocollo di radiofrequenza. Quindi, che vuol dire questo? Vuol dire che quando io vado a fare la certificazione di un nuovo prodotto la prima volta, è giusto che venga considerata non solo la parte di certificazione funzionale, ma anche la parte di certificazione del protocollo radiofrequenza, quella che chiamiamo la certificazione CEN 16794. Ma se io dovessi fare l'evoluzione del mio prodotto, perché magari passo da Calypso 3.2 a Calypso 3.3 sulla stessa piattaforma, con lo stesso hardware e con le stesse librerie, non capisco perché nell'ICS che viene presentato per certificare un prodotto non possiamo indicare la versione delle librerie fornite dalla piattaforma hardware in modo tale che si possa risparmiare questo costo di certificazione, evitando all'implementatore del sistema operativo Calypso di dover ricertificare anche la parte di radiofrequenza. Questa è una proposta che io farò al Technical Committee delle certificazioni, e vediamo un pochino di aprire anche un confronto e una discussione all'interno del working group rispetto a questa esigenza che io porto come operatore di mercato. Grazie.
Thank you, Cristiano. Bülent, from Assis, you are new in this Calypso family. Do you have some point of view on this famous cost of integration to be get certified with your products?
For certification cost, of course, it's important subject for us. But I don't think the main important thing for the manufacturers, because if you want to bring some standardization or quality or interoperability to your device or your products, the cost is not important. This is basically, I can say it. And, but the total cost, I mean, not just on the certification, but there are many part of the certification. For example, shipping fees to the test labs. For example, test suites, test cards, test SDKs. There are many things that affects to the cost. And the total cost should not be so much, I mean, it can be manageable. So this is what I think. But secondly, the time cost is very important. For example, you won a project somewhere and you need to support Calypso, for example. You should complete this process immediately, because the time is always limited for the going live. So if you spend a lot of time in certification phase or updating your certification, so it's not a good thing for the project, I mean, and so the customers being not happy for this. So basically, time cost should be not much more, and but the total cost is also important. These are what I can say about the cost for the certification. Thank you.
Thank you, Bülent. Now, if we are digging into the fact that sometimes we have to recertify some aspect of a program, can we find somewhere, or do we have some organizational elements that could enable us to find a good trade-off to maintain this famous quality versus rationality in cost? Lawrence, do you have some point of view to share?
Today, regarding the different programs we manage, so for the radio frequency certification or Calypso certification, there is a process for the product change, the product evolution. So there is several cases defined, and depending of the change, if it's what we consider minor or major, we have a set of tests to be performed again to ensure this conformance to the standard and this insurance for the market to get this interoperability and trust into the equipment, so card or device. About what you say, Christian, about the evolution of the specification and the need to have
An
adaptation. I completely agree. Regarding the certification, we are flexible. That means here it's the process for the verification, but it really depends of the work performed, yes, on the test plan, test environment, what is done from one version to another one, keeping the functionality running the previous one and not stopping for the future with the next one. So yes, it's hard work. I know that Calypso, STA are working on it. When they launched a new version or a new specification, they try to adjust through the technical guidelines I was talking about to ensure this compatibility. But sometimes, yes, it's not possible, but I heard, I heard your request. What can I say about the minor change? Yes, of course, there is some case like, yes, if you change, update your application, but it's for the radio frequency certification, there is no mean running the test again. So, of course, in this case, there will be no cost in the lab, and you will have, yes, the cost for the certification if we have a work to perform. If you want a letter, because I need to write the letter, I must be paid for that. More seriously, just to remind you that as soon as you touch the firmware, the antenna, the casing, because there are some metallic parts in it and who can have an impact in the certificate, you really change the configuration of your device, and you need, to have this minimum test of, as I say, non-regression, but minimum test perform, just to ensure that, your product is still compliant. You talk about the cost, the time, so regarding I'm talking about only the certification process. Yeah. For us, you need to plan 2-3 weeks in your roadmap to integrate the certification. So I think you can manage it, perhaps in parallel for other things. We have a fixed price for the certificate. So for us, we think, yes, it's a real benefit because it got as well a global reuse. We can see that the same certificate can be used by all the willing public authority scheme who recognize the technology, and this enable this authority to recognize this certificate and easier to get easier the decision about the product selection. So again, it should simplify the process if you recognize the certificate, and the certificate, as already mentioned, is free of access on a website.
Thank you, Laurence. So we heard about certification process, some benefits, technical ones, already operational ones. Now, is it enough? Do we need more on top of what is already exists, or is it only focused to specific parts? So, Cristiano, you shared a lot, but could you please refer to an experience potentially that proves that certification should be potentially completed with additional works or efforts?
Sì, sembra che io ce l'ho con qualcuno oggi, ma non è così, è che ho girato veramente, cioè lo posso dire, ho girato talmente tanti di quei sistemi e ne ho viste da un punto di vista tecnico di problematica talmente tante che forse questo spiega perché sono seduto qui a raccontare un po' la mia esperienza, l'esperienza della mia azienda, perché poi io rappresento un'azienda. Le certificazioni sono sufficienti? Sì, se tutti i componenti di un sistema sono certificati, cioè proprio un approccio ingegneristico questo. Visto che in una comunicazione ci sono due parti che parlano tra di loro, la carta e il terminale, stamattina al Partners Day abbiamo toccato questo tema. Abbiamo visto una bella roadmap dell'associazione Calypso. Nel 2024 ci hanno anticipato che ci sarà un processo di certificazione per i terminali, finalmente, dico io, perché ritengo che questo potrà risolvere i problemi che noi oggi riscontriamo di incompatibilità tra le carte e alcuni terminali. Oggi un fornitore di terminale per un sistema Calypso diciamo che è già un passo avanti rispetto al passato, fa un'autodichiarazione e almeno per fare un'autodichiarazione è obbligato a leggere le specifiche e verificare la compatibilità da un punto di vista tecnico del proprio terminale. Non è sufficiente, dobbiamo consentire a una parte terza indipendente di verificare che il terminale risponda a delle specifiche. Non entro nel merito di come sarà il processo di certificazione, poi diciamo che il tema verrà trattato da persone più esperte di me, dalla CNA, quando sarà il momento di presentare il processo di certificazione. Un passo importante che secondo me è stato fatto, e ho visto circolare questa guida che è una linea guida scritta da CNA e pubblicata all'inizio di quest'anno, molto importante. perché vuole dare un aiuto a chi definisce i tender pubblici per acquisire tecnologia relativamente alle carte, i sistemi di mobile ticketing e i terminali, che sono basati sugli standard Calypso. Qui veramente c'è scritto di tutto, c'è un grande aiuto per chi deve pubblicare delle gare pubbliche, e quello che io riscontro che probabilmente dobbiamo lavorare come associazione ad una ulteriore comunicazione e andare a intercettare quei PTA e quei PTO che sono ancora un po' pigri rispetto a quello che c'è scritto in queste linee guida, che continuano ad emettere capitolati dove vengono chiesti prodotti non a standard Calypso e quindi con un riferimento preciso a quale versione Calypso tu ti stai riferendo, ma vengono chieste delle, diciamo, usano questo eufemismo, strong emulation rispetto a dei prodotti noti. Faccio un esempio, perché è una gara uscita di recente, STM Montreal, Canada, viene chiesto un prodotto con una forte emulazione CD Lite, cioè non c'è nessuna indicazione di qual è la versione Calypso richiesta da quel sistema. Perché avviene questo? È una domanda che ho, un punto aperto che ho, e il mio sogno è quello che un domani non ci sono più gare in giro per il mondo che chiedono prodotti Calypso con riferimento ad un prodotto specifico che è un'implementazione. Voglio vedere l'indicazione dello standard, cioè mi serve Calypso 2.4 oppure Calypso Revision 3.3, eccetera, eccetera. Questo è il mio sogno da ingegnere applicato a questo tipo di implementazioni.
Thank you, Cristiano. Enrique, from your point of view as authority representative, do you think that product certification is enough?
Yeah, well, in practice, as a local authority doing tests in its system, it certainly helps. It's still not enough. Cristiano mentioned it. We need certification of the whole elements of the system. So in our case, we only buy certified cards, but we do not have certified vending machines, certified validators, which bring us sometimes trouble. But it really helps because we pinpoint the problem. It's not the card, it's the rest of the ticketing system, which is, in this case, the validators, for example. But for the authority, this is very important because it tilts the power of negotiation towards the authority. So we have a product, we have an open dialogue with integrators and card manufacturers or card providers, and it's just a matter of, hey, this product is certified, and you don't, please fix the issue. So it's very easy for us. It simplifies the whole of the tests and the dialogue because the authority needs control, and certification does that. Well, it's still not enough. Still, we have the commitment of quality, and it's always a work in progress towards excellence. But it certainly helps. Just let me trace back a little bit of history in Mexico City. In 2019, we did the first tender, card tender, and we completely changed the technology, and we erased that technology for good, which were magnet tickets, memory tickets, and we changed that technology for Calypso Prime cards. So the most expensive product of all. This takes me back to the previous question of costs, because it's not only the costs, not only from my partners here, but also the authority gets to see the costs. And what the authority saw regarding costs was completely fair for us and completely justifiable in terms of financial proposals, because it eradicated the fraud in the whole system, first of all. Just to give you a number, but a real one, 100 million Mexican pesos, please you do the conversion. 100 million Mexican pesos monthly was not entering the system, so that's a huge deal. And we eradicated fraud. Also, it simplifies our technical annexes because, as Christian already mentioned, and his dream of, we can just ask for the certification. Does your product is certified? Okay, then then you can move forward to the next step, which is in our case, field tests with that product. But in practice, it simplifies our technical annex. And so to be short in my answer, no, it's not enough. It will never be enough, but it certainly helps and it's certainly needed.
Thank you, Enrique. From your point of view, Maurizio, you are also procuring some cards a lot around Europe. Do you think it's enough to have these famous certified products?
Well, my story is actually very similar to what we heard here in the panel. Although we are not selling the equipment, we are in some cases integrating or building or assembling things. But the story is actually very similar. We have certified cards. We have the compatibility with the readers. We have the physical implementation of this reader inside of its casing or the ecosystem in which it's operating. And so we spoke earlier on about, we chose for Calypso because it's a standard, it's an open standard. On top of it, you have this certainty to have certified products that will help you as an additional layer. And so what we are currently doing is actually doing end-to-end testing. So we have a lab, and we do there all the user acceptance and the technical tests and so on before shipping it, because we have hundreds and hundreds of equipments going from Poland to Spain. And so you need to do end-to-end testing, because even if your product is certified, the fact that the coupler is inside of another equipment, like a card printer or a vending machine, doesn't guarantee you the end-to-end certification or the end-to-end compliancy. And so the short answer to your question is it's not enough. And we need to do additional testing on top of it, especially because each ecosystem is different.
Thank you, Maurizio. Now, if we are looking more at the operational benefit, regarding the famous question we have in our session title, is it definitely something that will help? Because we are talking about some benefits, we are talking about some industrial value, technical value. We shared about some process, and enabling anyone to understand what is behind certification. But definitely making such choice on potentially between the scale of the ticketing system. Do we think something operationally good having these certified products? And we added also the topic of the famous terminal that need to bring this kind of value. So, Enrique, again, could you share how operations could benefit for this?
Yeah, well, I can only repeat my previous answers. Operationally, it really helps us because we need to test in a vast system, and it simplifies our testing processes a lot. So we just need to test our ticketing system, our software system, the uppermost layer of the system. And it helps us focus on more important topics. But operationally, let me rephrase that last. It's not that the ticketing system is not important. It's a huge deal. It's in the core of the infrastructure. But for the authority and for the Mexican authority, we have pressing topics which are on top of the ticketing system, which in some viewpoint might come to be more important. Okay, so operationally we have simplified tests, and that makes us have to benefit from the certification. So basically I can only repeat my answer, but that's basically it.
Thank you. So, time is running. So, if I may, at this stage, make some takeaway before asking the audience to ask some questions. Certification rely on some rigorous process with independent partners. It allows to target systems that communicate each other, and we talk about the benefit also to add in Calypso in the coming months the terminal. It reduces the risk of projects, the delays. It enables to accelerate the deployment of systems benefiting for existing product certified. It improves the quality and the trust in the ticketing system. And finally, it opens the market, enabling fair competition, providing facilities for operators on a PTO to procure the solutions. Now, finally, and thanks to also the work of CNA on strong governance, it allows to foster multi-source and include a very real choice for the PTO and PTAs. So I propose to give the floor to the audience. Do you have some questions? Or a dream? Seems that's okay. So before closing, I want to thank all my speakers. It was a real nice experience, an insightful conversation. I want to thank also CNA for hosting this roundtable and provide the opportunity to speak. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much. It's a very, very interesting roundtable, and I thank you very much, everybody. So now we can move to the last session of the day.